Good afternoon, everyone. It's time to do some research, I believe. So, how are we going to take this on? Well, let's have a look at the research screen, shall we? So, what we're going to have to do is when someone clicks on the research button, we're going to have to start it being researched, okay? So, let's have a look at our research. It's going to be in the UI. And I was kind of expecting it to be in there, but maybe not. Okay, so we have research items, and okay, so we're looking at this, and we probably need so we've got text, which is fine, category fine, research required. That's basically its reliance on something else. The next thing, row column, and to be quite honest, we're probably looking at what's required for each thing. So how old am I? Probably older than you. How long have I been working as a programmer? Probably over 25 years. How long have I been programming? Probably over 35 years. So I am no spring chicken. Right, so I think what we're going to do here is, in the first instance, we'll look at the probe one, okay? So in actual fact, what I'm going to have to do is look at this data table, and we're going to have to take the names from this, and we're going to put them in the row numbers. Right, because that's going to give us a better idea. So this is going to be probe right. We'll spin this out a bit. So it's going to be probe 1. So we do it with an I, okay? And then do probe 2. And we'll leave it at that. that's enough for us to be getting on with at this point, right? So what we're going to do is create a new structure, and this is the one that's going to be held in the controller so that we can basically progress it, okay? So we want a structure here, and it's going to be research requirements. Okay. And we're going to have name, which we probably want to look at this, and it's a string. We don't need the texture, we don't need the text, because we can load these off of here if necessary, right? This is just going to be a shorter version of the same thing. And then we're going to need requirements. And that is going to be supply. To be quite honest, I should really create another one for that, but it's kind of handy to use. This has just got the E item plus the quantity, right? So if we're doing it by quantity, then this is we're going to have it so that you need to like make this amount of X and this amount of Y and this amount of Z. Okay? And then we're going to have current progress, which is going to be exactly the same thing. And then we're going to have completion, or is it complete or not? And that is about it, I'd say, for the moment. Okay, these are going to come from the data table in the first instance, and then when you've saved the game, it's going to come from the save game, right? Because obviously we're going to have to save our progression, okay? So we're going to have our defaults, and then we're going to have our, what can you say? Then our current actual active research, okay? So now we need to create a data table. So, and this is on research requirements. So go back to your data table and we shall create a data table. And it's going to come from requirements. So we'll OK that. DT underscore, well, rename this. So it's going to be DT underscore research requirements. So we're going to add a row, and this is going to be probe I. Then in our requirements, we are going to need, let's say you need bauxite. We'll do this as an example so it's a bit faster, and let's say we need 10, right? And let's say we need copper ore, and let's say we need 10, and then these are going to be empty. We're going to have to update complete, so we save that, and then we go back to here, we change our struct, we look at our research requirements, and that is not going to be an array. Okay, so taking it from there, what we actually need to do if we look at research items, I'm pretty sure research status right, so we're going to have to set this to be equal to, so you can have available, unavailable, researching, and complete. So this is complete. When we load it back in, it's going to get set in both places, right? So it's going to be set to false in the first instance, right? Now, let's now check out our controller. And we've got this currently researching, which is going to change from the default. We're going to change that to something that gets passed in when we click on it, right? So what we want to do is we want to look now at our actual UI when we click on our researching. So if we look at, I'm pretty sure it's the research button. So when you click on this button, we update the research tree, right? So that's not, well, it kinda is gonna get done. But have we got, no we don't. Okay, well that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our FE controller, right? And we're going to create a variable, and it's going to be current research search research item. Right, and that is going to be struct research requirements, and we shall create a category for it called research. Okay. So in our research button, these are kind of not right now. Actually they are, so that's fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to say get data table row, and it's going to be from research requirements, right? And from this we're going to get the name. We're going to it is already a string, so what we're going to do is replace any spaces with nothing, and then that is going to go in there, and that's going to get us the correct row. Okay, so we're doing that. And we have got an FE controller here, so that's kind of handy. So we'll go along here a bit, because all of this will change, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get this row, and basically with our FE controller, which I believe is here, it's set current reset item, research item. Okay. We'll do that, put that there. That's fine. And that's going to be fine. So now we're setting up our research. Now the question has to be at this point, are we going to have a research lab? Okay, that is the question. Or are we going to do it slightly different? Right? So we can currently process it. We can currently process it if we add it to our Right, if we add it to our inventory, okay, so let's do that. So this is going to be temporary. So what we'll do is we'll do custom event, right? And it's going to be process research. Now it's probably is it going to be called process research? Yeah, I'd imagine so. So what we're going to do here is get this and then do an is valid, and we can't. For whatever reason. Can we do an as valid? Apparently not. Interesting. Doesn't want to play ball with that. You can only do it on an input item. Okay. Right, so whatever. We'll break that. I'll reset context. And fundamentally equals nothing. If it's not equal to nothing, then we branch. Okay. So we're just checking to see if this is actually anything at this point, because obviously it's going to be set up as default and it's going to be nothing. Right? So in theory, we're going to check this before we do anything, right? So we're going to put a breakpoint, we're going to save that, then we're going to grab the name of this process research, we're going to copy it, right? And then we're going to go into our begin play, and we're going to set timer by function name, and then we're going to do that, Okay. And let's say we're going to process this every 2 seconds. We really just want to check if we can set it where we want to. And what we'll do is we'll do a print string. Right, and we'll put that up every, let's say 5 seconds. Right, because it is going to loop. So if that's true, it's going to print the name of our current research. Right. In fact, it's not. Well, doesn't really matter. It's kind of gonna. Right, so we go in there. So that's false, which is what I expected. Right. So it's only going to do it once we select a research. Right. So if we close that, it should have started printing that on the screen. Right, but it didn't. So let's check on this. So if we click on this again and we click on that, it's not going here. It's not actually doing that. Right? So that's a bit of a strange one. Right, that's okay. Fill the widget, that's okay. So let's add the breakpoint there and click that one. So it is hitting there, right? Let's see where we go from here. So we step over, step over, step over, step over, step over that, and let's check to see what we've actually got here. We've got Fabricator 1. I've only put it to probe. So this is going to return nothing. Right, okay, resume. So I basically have to click on this one for it to actually work. Right. So this should actually have, yeah, there we go. So if we resume this now, and we close this, right, and if we type in controller, yeah, we didn't make this viewable, so that's not very good. So we can stop that just now and remove this, remove this, save that, go back to your controller, make this instance editable, play that, right? So if we now click on that and click on that and then close, we should be able to go to our controller, right? And we should be able to see the current research item. Now we do have box item 10, which is correct, and copperorum 10, right? But apparently we don't have a name. Okay? For whatever reason. So let's take a look at that. If we go to our here, yeah, we haven't put a name. We used the row name. So if we click on that, we can say probe space 1. Save that. Okay. So that's going to take care of that. And then basically, if we wanted to do something more with this, now this is some code that we might use. If we make the research into a building that accepts research like bottles or something, right? So what we can do is, we've already got a research item, right? So we can basically do, right, now here's the thing. Here is the thing. When we set this up, right, now this leads us down another path. Okay, not a bad path, but what we're going to do is, in our research, right, we're going to create an actor component, right? It doesn't need a transform. Okay, so this is BPC research, right? And I don't even know if this is going to be a, well, we can. Yeah, let's do it that way, right? Let's do it this way. So this is going to get removed, okay? And our research is going to be handled by the BPC component, right? So in effect, we can cut that from there we can put it in here. Okay. And this is going to have the variable of our so this is going to be struct requirements, and that's going to be struct research requirements, right? And this is going to go in here, and this is going to go in here, and that is going to get deleted. Okay. So basically what we're doing is we're using a research component, and it is basically going to calculate all the current values for the processing, right? So the other variable that we might need is research level, right? And that's going to be an integer, and we're going to get that from our research tree, but we're not going to worry about it for now. So the research level is going to be 0. Okay, and now what we want, after a big yawn there, is for this to actually do the set is the set timer by function name, right? So basically this is going to be plugged in and manipulated in some way to reduce the time, right? So the higher your value, then the lower the time. So kind of similar to the number of workers. Like the higher the number of workers you've got, the less time. Oh, big yawn again there. Yeah, so the higher the research level, the lower the time, right? And then what we can do is we can go back to our FE controller, we can go back to our event graph, and we can basically remove this because it's going to run its own component, so that kind of separates it away from, and we can basically delete this as well. Yeah, right, okay, so that shouldn't have brought up any errors. I was wondering why it was saying there was going to be an error there. Anyway, if we go back to our component here, we can now do this and attach it to anything, right? So if we want a building to do this, we just attach it to a building. At the moment, we're going to do it in the, it's attached to the controller, right? But as I said, if we wanted a research building, we can do that and then attach this component to the research building. So if we now try that, we can do that, we can do that, and then close it. And the research component, we're not foolish. Right, so the research button now is not going to actually do this. So what it's going to do is we're going to pull off here. And we're going to get the research component. Okay, so we're going to get that component by class, right? And it's going to be BPC research, and it's going to be struct requirements. Set struct requirements, and that goes in there. And there we go. So we can play that, continue, hit the button, hit probe, and there you go, probe one. Right, so basically our actor component, it being the research component, is giving us an output when we process. Okay, so you can see it here. It's got its stuff, and what we could do instead so basically on the begin play, well, actually not on begin play, right? So what we'll do is we shall say we'll set up a custom event, right? So we set up a custom event, and then we say set new research, and it's going to be this. We're actually going to set it right? And when we set it, we basically set up we do a break, right? And then what we do is for each okay, so for each of the requirements we then set up the array for the current progress. Okay, so what we do is we set no we don't, we add okay, so we add that, but we don't copy the whole thing. What we do is we make the struct supply, we break this and we only plug in the item, okay? So that we start at 0, okay? And we'll drag that out a bit. And we shall do that. That looks fine. So in our research button, the way we set this up is we say set new requirement, set new research, okay? And then this goes into here. And we'll delete that. So row found, that goes in there, that goes in there. Okay. Now this all might move around, but I'm just beginning to build up what we're doing with the in fact, if we do a research building, right, there would be no reason to have a research button, because if you clicked on the research, I suppose you could have more than one, which would be kind of the point. So yeah, we'll stick with it with that. So that should now give us, let's see what that says, nothing. Right, okay, whatever. So now, what we could do is we could go into our research, right? And then every 2 seconds, this is going to be something similar to what we actually have, right? Now, here's the thing. This can actually now move over to here, so that we only start this running when this gets called. Okay, so we can move this down to here, and then what we can say is we can look at our current progress, or at least we don't need to start with. But what we'll do is for each of our requirements, so for each Actually, you know what? I don't need to do that. All I need to do is do that. I need to, because we've already made up, the current progress is all that matters now. Once that you've set this thing up, right? So for each one, we can basically check our inventory, right, to see if we've got this. And if I remember rightly, right, in this case, what I'm going to do here, right, what I'm going to do, and I know that the parent at this particular time is the controller, right? But if I move this code into like a research building, then that's not necessarily going to be the case. So I'm going to do the good old get player controller, cast to FE controller, then we're going to promote it to a variable, and then we just call it controller, right? And that gives us a reference to our controller. So it doesn't matter if this code gets moved to somewhere completely different, we can still grab a reference to the controller easily enough. And I think we can get product. We might not call it. Let's see. Must be in the ship. So we can get product available. Then we can do a for each. It's going to be, is it going to be? Yeah, it's going to be a for each with break. Right? And with that, what we can do is we can break that and then check. We can break that and then we can see if that equals that. Okay. If that equals that, then we can do something. So we shall move that to the left a bit, not take up as much space. Okay. And I'm going to have to go to the little men's room, so I shall be back in a couple of minutes. Stick around, won't be long. Okay guys, we're back. Now let's get on with this. So this is giving me an idea of how to improve the functionality. Is I should really have a function in the controller where anything can make a call to remove something from the inventory. Now that code is probably at the moment it's part of the rocket code, but for the moment we'll write it here and we'll carry on. So if this is true, right, then we get the products available here, and we set the array element we would have to get it first obviously, but for the sake of argument here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to automatically do it, right? The index is going to come from here, and we're going to make a new item, and it's going to be this item, and the new quantity is going to be this quantity minus 1, right? That gets set there, right? And with this one, what we're going to do is we're going to get this actually we're going to get this and this, right? And we're going to set array element, and this we're going to make that, and it's going to be this item and this plus 1. And that's going to go in there, and then we're going to get the index of this array, and that should be us. Okay. Now this should also only run with an and this is actually going to be a not. So we plug that in there, we plug that in there, we plug that in there, right? So if it's not complete, and no, that should actually be an OR. Right, let's let's just delete that back out for the moment. We can work that one out later. We'll just do it the simple way, right? So if that's not complete, so that can be true, but that's empty, right? So we'll let that run. And then what we do is at the end of our outside loop, what we can do is we can get these things again, right? And we're going to add a variable, and it's going to be is complete, and set the integer, it's boolean. Now we probably wanted this actually in a function, so we might move it to a function, but yeah, let's put it in a function, shall we? So we'll cut that. We shall delete that. We shall add a function. It's going to be for check for completion. Okay, then we're going to add a local variable back in, and it's is complete. And each time we come in here, we're going to set it to true. Okay. And then we're going to paste this in, and the current progress, we do a for each loop. Join this up again. So that's fine. Move this a bit to the left. And we'll break that. We need to check this against. Okay. So we need to check these against the requirements. So what we'll do is we'll go to the requirements, and then for each of these we do the same thing. So we do a for each loop on that. Okay. Now, there's a bit of logic that we're missing here, but we'll carry on with it. See, what we could have done, well, you'd never have known the actual. Nah, that's okay. That's okay. So we'll say it equals we'll drag this across. And we branch on this one. Okay, so if we branch on that, and if the quantity required, let's just check. If this is greater than or equal to this, then we branch. So if it's false, we set our is complete to false. Okay. And then we pull our is complete, then we branch. So if everything is complete, then we get this, and we set it. Then we set members, and we show that one, we do that one, and we plug these in. Okay, compile that, then we go back to our event graph. Then after our complete thing, once we've gone through both our outer and inner loops, we check that, and that's going to save our struct. Okay, so in theory, we should be able to do this. We should be able to look at our controller, and we should see if we have all the proper, we have bauxite, and I think we need copper ore, I believe. That's copper sheet, that's a widget, that's a new thing, that's iron ore, iron sheet, and copper ore, right? So we have both, right? So as I was saying, we do need a couple more checks for this to be properly done, but this will give us an idea of whether this is working or not. You can see this is going down. Now I can stop that, right? And that wasn't quite set right anyway. We can do that. And then we can do a print string we can change it to 30 seconds, let's say. We'll do an append just to make it a bit more meaningful, right? And we shall basically say research complete for right, we should bring that down. We're going to change the color of that to white. Save that. That is going to go in there, and we can get the struct requirements, and we can break it, and we can get the name. Okay, and we can save that and play. So we now set our thing. We can check on our items. So once this gets down to 90, I believe that it should say complete up here. There we go. Research complete for probe 1. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to update our research tree. Okay. But our research tree is in our save game. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to load our save game. And let's take a look at our saved game while we're at it. So our saved game here has struct research items. Okay. So in effect, what we actually need to do here is in our game mode, right? We're not going to do that. Actually, we're going to do this in the game mode. No, let's not. Let's do it in our controller, right? And again, basically this is going to be like a load game from slot thing, so it's going to have to go in this part. So this is like loads research trees from save game. Okay. But if we haven't done that yet, what we need to do is we need to go back to our controller and we need to load the save game or sorry, we need to load in the research tree from the save game, right? So that's initial tree save. So have I actually done this? Apparently I have. Look at that. I've already done that. Yeah, I've already done it. Cool. Right. So, with that being said and done, we're going to close the game mode and we're going to go back to our controller, and in actual fact we're going to go back to here and if that is complete, so it would appear to me now that we don't get this. Well, we do get this, right? But we don't do this part because it's all going to come from the save data when we start up, okay? So this part is going to be a little bit different. Right, we may, no, we're not going to do that, right? We're going to get the data from the save game file, right? So it's going to be slightly different, but I'm trying to think this through in my head here. So that's okay for the now, because that's not going to be the way that we complete this anyway. So for the purposes of our game, what I think we need to do is get game instance. No, I think actually, you know what? I think we actually just need to get the controller. Then get save game, get save data. And then research. And now what we do is we do for each. Right? We break that. And we basically copy if the names are the same, right? So if that equals that, right? So let's pull this down here a bit. Now this is going to be a for each, but it actually needs to be a for each we break, because we don't want to process it if we're already done it. Okay. So we can go to here. If that equals that, then that is branch. And if that is true, we break that, and basically what we do is we set the array element, right? So set array element, we might need a set members, so we do that. And we can do a set members instruct. Right. And we set the status to complete. And I don't think we actually need to do anything with that, to be fair. Right, so we set that. We set the status to complete. When we complete it, and that should be that. Okay. So that's here. I'm hoping these two things are the same. If not, we can always swap it out. Press play. Right. We need to get this out of the way. And we shall try it at that. Bang. Probes. Close that. And here's our breakpoint. And they are the same. So we're going to step over, and our struct out should say status complete. And we should be able to resume that. Why is it done that again? Ah, okay. Stop that. Now note, we didn't save the game, so we're not actually so if we do that, and if we do that, just to get that crap out of the way, in fact what we could do is move this up here. As I said, this is all going to get tidied up in the end to be put in the right place. Now if we look at this, right, press that, go with this, go with this. Now we don't set this at all. Where buttons were just, we were simulating something happening that made the research complete. But now we're actually doing code which actually does something that makes it complete, right? So if we look at this, we have save game data, right? But can we look at this? And apparently we can't. Right? But what we can do now is, if we, what's the next plan of assault here? Right. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Is, right, okay, what we could do is, right, in our controller, in our event graph, we always have a special place for a sneaky little event tick, right, that's just going to print stuff out for us, and this is it here. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull in our game save data, right? We're going to get the game save data, and we are looking for research. So we get our struct research items, right? And we do for each loop. And we break this. And we know that we're looking for probe, okay? So we're wanting contains, I think we want contains, no we don't. We want an in string, right? Right, okay. So what we'll do is we'll do that. And is it contains, if it contains probe, we don't match case, and if it's true, we branch. Hey Kofi, how are you, mate? We're just working on research here. We've got our first sort of automated research going. We're not 100% sure how we're going to do it yet, but hey ho. We might attach this, I've done it as a component, and we might attach this to a building, and then the building can do the research. Right, so if we're doing that, and if it does match probe, then we're going to print out the status. So we're going to do print string, right? We're going to leave it 2 seconds, but what we're going to do is we're going to append, right? And we're going to append this. Then we're going to do, wait a minute. We're going to break that. Actually, it's not going to matter. Right, we'll do a few spaces, right? And then we'll do this. And then we'll do a couple more. We'll plug that in there. We'll plug that in there. We'll add that. It is already added. And then we're going to plug that into there. Except we're not. We're going to do that. Okay. And we're going to change it to white. I'm going to save that and run it. This now should tell us from the save game file wait a minute. Oh yeah, we didn't plug that in. Yeah, we did. Okay. Whatever. Where's that going to? Alright, delete that. Delete that. So we might need to actually create a new game for this. So let's go with this and see what we've got. Right, so we've got that, right? So if we now do that and close that, after 10 seconds our probe 1 should go to complete. Right, so that's it now hit, and there we go, probe 1 complete. Okay. So that's working nicely. Now, the only thing we need to do after we do that, so once this is all done, we're going to do a bit of cleanup. Right. So basically what we should do is save game, right? Which leads me to believe that we should have a function we should try to have a function that saves the game in our controller, right? So basically we're going to do that and we're going to say save game. Let's call it save game now. Okay. So we get the save game data. And we save game to slot. And then we get the slot name. Now we should have a slot name. Yep. Go to game. Got to get game instance. And in the game instance, we should have the slot. Get save game slot. And we break that. Right, and we plug in the slot name. Okay. So what we need to do now is in there, when this is totally complete, we just get the controller and we basically say save game now. Okay. So that's basically us. There's a lot of stuff in here that maybe isn't required, like these print strings and stuff. But what should happen now is if we say, right, let's try this, right? So this should turn to complete. And there it goes, right? And now it should have saved. So if we stop it and press play again, I'm hoping, against hope here, that everything it's, yeah, there we go. You see? Comes up to complete. Complete. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. So it's loaded in the fact that our probe 1 is complete now. right? Now the interesting part is actually going to be if we hit this here, there you go, it's complete. So this is now all tied together perfectly. So we're now pulling it from the save game. Now you'll notice, right, that what we could do is if we play the new game, right, and we call it research, and okay that, right, everything's available again, right? Then if we research it, we're going to get available here. But now it's complete. We can stop it. We can press play again. We can continue, and it's not saved it. Wow, that's interesting. Did I actually complete it, or did I not? I don't think I did. I think I'm hallucinating now. Right, let's just do that, right? And we'll wait till it goes to complete. I'm beginning to lose my mind. Right, so it's complete, right? So if we stop that, we press play, and we continue, it's all available again. That's weird. I wonder which game we're actually running. Right, let's press play. Let's load a game. Let's load new game 1. Let's press that, and that's got nothing. Right, so we'll stop that. We'll press play. We'll load a game. We'll say research. Okay. And there we go. So it looks as if this isn't set to the current game. Right? Let me press play again. Yeah. It's not loading from the current game. So we need to check that. But I think that's one for tonight. So you guys, it would help if you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for following and watching on. If you have today, you're welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the description for Discord and other links to other stuff I do. And I shall see you all in 4 hours. See you tonight. Bye bye for now.